Off-the-shelf crampons don't fit kids' small feet. Today I'm walking us through how I improvised a modular crampon system that can adapt and still work as my kids grow. Hi there everyone, I'm Jason. Good winter traction is hard to find for kids. Sure, there are cheap plastic things with almost imperceivably small spikes. Better, you can find microspike style traction, and you can follow the link in the description for a review we did of high stream gear ice cleats for kids. But even those are less than a centimeter in length for each spike. So when the snow gets firm and steep, or if your kids want to swing tools, there really isn't a kid's option. Well, here's how I use what was available to make one. First, we need to understand that part of what makes front point crampons work is a stiff boot that you can stand in while your front points penetrate the surface and your secondary points lever against that surface. If you don't have a stiff boot, it doesn't matter what spikes you have on. Well, I found skate skiing style cross-country boots in EU 36, but that's still not small enough for my guys. You could do a full-on ski boot, but they're typically heavy and expensive and even more difficult to walk in than our adult version mountaineering boots. What I found that was reasonably affordable, stiff, but still walkable were closeout model kids snowboard boots. I landed on the Nidecker Microns because they are very stiff. The BOA lacing system is really easy for small hands to adjust their fit, and while the double boot makes the fit a little sloppy, they do work really well in terms of insulation. After all, they're made for handling the cold and inactivity of riding up a lift to the top of a hill. And obviously, they don't have toe or heel welts to accept a step-in crampon, so I need to make sure my crampons have strap-in capabilities. Petzl's been moving to modular crampon systems, first pioneered with their Lynx model, but now expanding to other models. I ended up with the kit Cord-Tec rears, which are light aluminum and connected to the front with a cord. The hooks allow you to move up the cord or move back the cord, lengthening or shrinking the distance between the front and the rear sections. And I went with the dart fronts. The darts are very technical, able to be configured as dual vertical points or mono points. You can see our latest short to learn about horizontal, vertical, and mono points, and I'll put another link in the description. I decided using vertical points, somewhat misapplied on snow, was preferable to using horizontal points on ice, and my kids wanted to ice climb. Petzl also sells traditional strap-style toes and heels. The heels come with the requisite long straps, even though they aren't shown in the picture. This configuration allowed me to shrink down the crampons so small that the front and rear were touching, and it will allow me to expand the crampon to full adult sizes. You can get replacement front points, too, so theoretically this crampon could last a really long time. Another nice thing about the darts for this setup are these holes that allow the fronts to accept the cord connection that comes with the kit rears. I centered the cord through the dart fronts, made sure the anti-balling insert went over the cord, ran the ends through the kit rear at the outer holes, hooked the cord over the sizing prongs, ran the ends back through the inner holes on the kit rear, and then tied a double fisherman's knot to connect the cord ends. You can see a short on how to tie that knot by following another link in the description. Again, I made sure to get the anti-balling plate to sit over the cord. Fitting these strange crampons onto these atypical boots can be a bit of a thing. The big thing you're trying to avoid is having the crampon sag at the midfoot. Once I very rigorously applied the procedure for fine-tuning the fit that you would use for a traditional strap-in crampon, we never had that sag again. Traditional strap-in crampons are fit first at the heel and then at the toe. You can watch our video on getting a good crampon fit by following another link in the description. And you can learn the finer points of moving the bail and other things like that. We begin by wedging in the heel so that it presses firmly against these angles in the bottom of the heel bail. Now we need to get the toe to wedge against the similar angles at the toe bail. We should be able to lift the boot and have the crampon sit in place, even with the straps undone. If it doesn't, we need to adjust the cord on the sizing prongs, like we discussed, and try again. The straps, of course, come next. This could just be like any other strap adjustment if your kids' feet are close to adult size. But if their feet are very small, the toes may be too low in profile on the boot to have the toe bail keep contact with the surface. So we need to help it by pushing the flexible bail down and creating a new bend point when also pulling the strap tight. There will inevitably still be a gap between the boot and the bail, but you can reduce it a lot. Finally, be careful about how much you trim the strap. You're going to want some excess for when your kids' feet grow. You can take the tail and wrap it around the boot again, and then tie a fixing knot like we suggest in our short on what to do with excess crampon straps. So there you have it, an improvised crampon that is still made of high-quality products and with the built-in ability to adjust as feet grow. Is it perfect? No, sizing's a bit of a pain, but will it stay on your kids' feet and allow them to take on more technical winter terrain? Well, it has for my kids. Thanks for checking out this video. Please hit that like button, and if you haven't yet, please ring that bell and subscribe. And you can check out our website at shortguysbetaworks.com to find gear lists, all of our videos, and additional thoughts and information. Do you have kids who love playing in the cold? Would they be excited about the thoughts of spiky things on their feet? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you next week, and keep on getting more out of that big outside.